I'm so glad you are here today. Let's take a moment and start where we started 15 weeks ago. Put your feet on the floor. Feel your connection to earth. Your shoulders back, but relaxed. Your head connected to sky. Take a couple of good deep breaths and feel them. If you need to stretch this morning, stretch. Breathe. Counting your breath, whatever it is that works for you to bring you to presence in this place, that works for you in any place. And I'd like you to take in this poem by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. And meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees and the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. We've been on an adventure together. As Maddie asked on Monday, and as some of you answered so beautifully, what was your inner self teaching you through this experience? What has BiSci 3 been for you? What has this semester been for you? I loved hearing some of your answers about that. And so here in this last great meeting of this class, we need to acknowledge that there have been challenges, and we need to celebrate the efforts that we put in. We need to acknowledge the disappointments that there have been, and the enlightenments, and the fact that disappointments and enlightenments all lead to learning. What do we deem as success and failure? How do we think about those things? As Lydia said on Monday, it's about choice. How do you choose to see your experiences? This meeting marks the end of this part of the adventure that has called forth considerable effort from everyone in this room. Everyone. So why do I teach BiSci? Because of this, the power and the possibility of all of you. The power and the possibility means that there's hope, right? There's hope for connection. And I am sincerely grateful that you took BiSci 3. So with knowledge comes responsibility. We talked about the hero's journey. We talked about it at the beginning and the middle and the end of the course. Awareness is key and how everything matters. So a quick recap of how we've become aware. We've started in this place where we were connecting with Earth. How can we see ourselves and each other and the world around us with new eyes, the eyes of wonder and humility and gratitude and connection? And I think that there were some cool discoveries for all of us around this. From there, we went to part 2 with the emphasis on the abuse of Earth, the overuse, the consumption, the idea that we can't look away from this stuff. Our feelings are part of our human intelligence. And so how can we really use that, right? By allowing ourselves to feel we're fully human. From there, we went then to part 3, with the attention on sustainability as it relates to our daily choices, food and shelter and transportation and energy, focusing on creativity and possibility and opportunity, hope and freedom, and more about the power of choice. Sustainability, that's such a catchphrase right now. That word is just used and used. We need to think about sustainability. Means we cannot continue living like we are living now. We must continue what it really means to sustain, to keep the goodness in the world. The definition of sustain is not just to continue, but it's to strengthen and to support. So how can we strengthen and support the world around us? The book that you used is titled Developing Ecological Consciousness. So what is it? What have you come to understand? What's your working definition of ecological consciousness? Some of the TA conversations have included this question. So I'd like you to talk about this with your neighbor. What is your ecological consciousness understanding? Think about it, and then talk to your partner. What do you think? The microphones are around. I'd love to hear a couple of definitions. It can mean so many things and be put into so many different words. So what's your ecological consciousness story? Thanks, Alyssa.
Hello. I'm over here on the middle right.
Got it. Thank you.
I feel like I saw ecological consciousness as developing an ability to notice what you use and how it's affecting the environment, because that will lead to you feeling those feelings and then making those steps to take action.
Thanks for saying that.
All right, so this is, I don't know if this is going to be very, supportive, but I don't know, this class has kind of led me to probably to the wrong conclusion, but it seems like a lot of the stuff like we've talked about is a lot of fear-mongering, and it's just I don't know, it just seems like climate change is a big grift. I acknowledge it's real. Human activity contributes to it, but a lot of it is just ignoring inconvenient truths and just not having feasible solutions. So I don't know. I think that was kind of my takeaway.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by inconvenient truths? Can you give me an example?
What's it called? So wind farms, for example. there. First of all, you need a diesel generator, like a backup at all times, just in case. If it gets too cold, what's it called? They need to use helicopters to de-ice them, which uses, spoiler alert, jet fuel. So it's like you're moving the problem from one place to another without actually addressing it.
Yeah.
And I think like it's just kind of hypocritical, and I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Well, but when we even brought up wind farms, they're bad for birds.
And whales.
And whale, like it's, but the key is awareness, right? So, so that's what we're getting at. So I think that maybe would it be fair to, what I'm hearing you say is that ecological consciousness is all about the complete awareness. It's not about parts of awareness.
Yeah, and just like kind of a side note, I think like the beginning of this class was kind of a big echo chamber, and I don't know, I don't mean to sound like a narcissist, but I was like the only person to like actually like say anything like contrary, and then I think like that kind of sparked like other people actually saying things and like speaking out different perspectives. So like, I don't know, I think in that aspect I improved the class.
Yeah.
So you're welcome, I think.
Yeah, well, I tried to meet with you and talk to people.
I know, I'm sorry I ignored your email.
Yeah, it's okay, but I wanted to say that. I appreciate your perspective. So I'm really grateful that you have brought those perspectives into the room, because it makes it much more well-rounded perspective, and I appreciate that. So thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get to say it to you before, but I'm glad you're speaking now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. Other definitions of ecological consciousness? Other thoughts? All right, Vic.
We have another one. To your right.
Okay, just 1 second. There's somebody over here. Hold on. Go ahead.
I think that ecological consciousness is actually doing steps and not just realizing it, but actually acknowledging the problem, because I think it's easy to know it's there and not do anything, but actually doing something is being conscious about the problem.
Thank you. Cool. Awareness. Yes. All right.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Kind of going off with the guy before, the one that just spoke, I was going to say that ecological consciousness is understanding that actions we make in the environment will lead to a domino effect into nature.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. Yep. Thank you for bringing that up. Domino effect. Yeah. Let's do one more. Hi, August.
Hi. I think that, along with the effects on the planet and your health and just like how we play into Earth, I think that it can also be, not specifically, but it can just, in general, be really spiritual experience to connect more with the planet we live on. And so it's like there's multiple reasons to develop consciousness about it.
Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. So that's why I asked, because everybody has their own story. I'm sorry, where are you? I heard another voice. Someplace. Okay. Or not. So the idea that when we use, yes, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, I feel like ecological consciousness stems from having a relationship with Earth, and obviously if you have a good relationship with something, you want to take care of it.
Yeah.
So it all starts with connecting with Earth, and now I found myself, I'm more conscious about the decisions I'm making. I shouldn't just throw this plastic away, or I should no more plastic bags in the grocery store. It's once you think about the effect it has on Earth, I feel like it all stems from building a strong relationship with our planet.
Yeah, thank you. About relationships. Thank you. So it's when we engage all of these parts, sort of what August was getting at there, when we engage all of our parts, the head, the heart, the intuition, that we can reach this full human potential. The subtitle of the book then, Becoming Fully Human, the idea that we are inclined sometimes to use just parts instead of the whole. So remember what Grace said on Monday about needing nourishment, the idea that we need to fuel our bodies in order to do the things that we love to do. So that nourishment, not just in the form of food, but then, as Sophie said, to be able to care for ourselves as a parent, parenting ourselves. Even if you didn't have the most supportive parents, we can still give ourselves what we know to be the best for us, the things that we know we need, so that we can show up fully, use all of this equipment. Our human creativity is going to will take us, if we let it, to amazing places. Some of you will have jobs that don't even exist yet, right? That's mind-boggling to me. It's so exciting to me. Some of you will bring new ideas and possibilities and passion to jobs that need to be revitalized. And so being able to use all of your equipment, you're going to find your way in this world. I needed to find a place where I could bring all of me to the work that I do, both here in this room and then out there in the world. I needed to bring it to my kids, right? The future generations of what's coming. And so keeping my eyes and mind and heart and gut open, doors are going to appear for you. Ways are going to be laid out. So what's going to happen for you after you leave this class? The only thing we have to do to be sure that we will leave a ruined world for our children and our grandchildren is to do exactly what we're doing right now. So what's going to happen for you when you walk out of here? You're going to go back to the before? Or are you going to commit to recycling and console yourself that we're doing our part, even though we now know that recycling is great, but it's sort of trivial in the fact, we need to do it, but there are bigger stories like he's talking about, right? The inconvenient truths. It's good, but it's not good enough. A quick scan of our newspapers today, most popular news websites, shows a country that appears to be on the brink of chaos. But if you picked up a paper in 1972 or in 1998, or whenever, you'd probably come away with the same conclusion. Humans have such an unquenchable hunger for hearing about crime and scandals and political turmoil that the news media rarely tells us what's going right in the world. Turmoil always grabs the attention over the peaceful things that are happening. Economic crises always get more headlines than prosperity, and the storm always receives more press than the calm. So a study out of California found that the more news that one consumes, the greater one's perception of risk and fear. So how can we find the good stuff that's happening? There's all kinds of good stuff happening. The current U.S. Surgeon General of the United States, the nation's doctor, providing Americans with the scientific information that's currently available on how to improve health and reduce the risk of illness and injury. His name is Vivek Murthy. Vivek Murthy. He speaks, it's interesting, because he speaks about the way that we're going to heal ourselves and our connection. The U.S. Surgeon General talks about love, overcoming fear, and that if we drive ourselves into the real human nature of connection, we can overcome these challenges that we face. It's powerful. A dear friend and past BiSci student wrote this. Her name's Kara. She says, "While in the shower, a place I do most of my thinking, I was contemplating every problem in the world that I could think of, everything I wanted to fix to make the world a better place. It's a long list, and I'm prone to worrying. It adds up, and the feeling of helplessness overwhelms me." She continues, "I know a lot of you have felt that way in BiSci at some point, because we've opened our minds to think about the bigger picture in sometimes challenging and uncomfortable ways. It can be debilitating to want to help so much and make huge changes when you feel so little. I, for one, think we are all little, As we know, we're just a blip on the timeline of the universe, but even though we are small beings, and that what we do alone isn't going to change the world. And yet, we also now know that there is still beauty and power in making impacts the way we can in the lives of others. If we all make a small impact, then we can make a bigger one together. But to do so, we must turn toward all beings and Earth, our home, with empathy, love, and openness. So consider these words from Unitarian minister Christine Fry. Autumn's going to share with us.
The Great Turning. You've asked me to tell you of the Great Turning, of how we saved the world from disaster. The answer is both simple and complex. We turned. For hundreds of years, we had turned away as life on Earth grew more precarious. We turned away from the homeless men on the streets, the stench from the river, the children orphaned in Iraq, the mothers dying of AIDS in Africa. We turned away because that's what we had been taught. To turn away from our pain, from the hurt in another's eyes, from the drunken father, from the friend betrayed. Always, we were told, in actions louder than words, to turn away, turn away. And so we became a lonely people, caught up in a world moving too quickly, too mindlessly, toward its own demise. Until it seemed as if there was no safe space to turn, no place inside or out that did not remind us of fear or terror, despair and loss, anger and grief. Yet on one of those days, someone did turn. They turned to face the pain, turned to face the stranger, turned to look at the smoldering world and the hatred seething in too many eyes, turned to face himself, herself. And then another turned, and another, and another. And as they wept, they took each other's hands.
Until whole groups of people were turning, young and old, gay and straight, people of all colors, all nations, all religions, turning not only to the pain and hurt, but to beauty, gratitude, and love. Turning to one another with forgiveness and a longing for peace in their hearts. At first, the turning made people dizzy, even silly. There were people standing to the side, gawking, criticizing, trying to knock the turners down. But the people kept getting up, kept helping one another to their feet. Their laughter and kindness brought others into the turning circle, until even the naysayers began to smile and sway. As the people turned, they began to spin, reweaving the web of life, mending the shocking tears, knitting it back together with the colors of the earth, sewing on tiny mirrors so the beauty of each person, each creature, each plant, each life might be seen and respected.
And as the people turned as they spun like the earth through the universe, the web wrapped around them like a soft baby blanket, making it clear all were loved, nothing separate. As this love reached into every crack and crevice, the people began to wake and wonder, to breathe and give thanks, to celebrate together. And so the world will be saved, but only as long as you, too, sweet one, remember to turn.
The great turning. Thank you. There's a beautiful article I linked under web week number module 15, Opportunity is Now Here, an article about people who are weaving our social fabric. We're living with the excesses of 70 years of hyper-individualism, of independence, when that's not how we're made. Our arms are attached for connection. Right? We are made for interdependence. The option is being a weaver and sharing an ethos that emphasizes using our deep self as part of all the relationships. Somebody talked about those beautiful relationships. We're born into these relationships, and the measure of our life is the quality of those relationships with self, others, and the world around us, turning them into us. And I believe that the best way to be a weaver is to be authentically you, which then inspires others to do the same. Right? The questions that you ask matter. So how are we going to weave?